Probably. I remember we were in New York, and John Paul Jones set a good screen on me, and I actually popped my eardrum, ruptured my eardrum just on a screen.
Whispers turned into headlines, which turned into a frenzy. Now, the frenzy is meeting its origin. A short while ago, after a week-long internet outage, Caitlin Clark made a shocking statement about the alleged $100 million European mega deal that had the potential to transport the WNBA's top player across the Atlantic. Cameras flickered as her live remark rolled. Teammates froze and notifications exploded. Is this the time when things change? Will women's basketball always exist? Or a masterclass in leverage that none of us anticipated? Watch this space for what she says next. Currently, the post that made all the difference. Caitlin Clark speaks up. Caitlin Clark did not simply show up. She burst into it in the WNBA .1 moment. She was setting college records with Iowa, and the next, she represented Indiana. Diana, drafted just a few days after her incredible NCAA career came to an end. There was no break, no rest, there's no easing into it. Nevertheless, she not only survived, but also flourished. A few days ago, everything reached a breaking point when she finally shattered her. Silence with an emotional Instagram post that caused a stir in the basketball community. It was an expression of thanks and ponder a year that had completely upended both her life and the league. It was an emotional occasion for supporters. It was a watershed moment for insiders and analysts. Something more profound was taking place, something that no novice had accomplished, prior to a complete change in the way women's basketball was viewed, played, and honored. Why was Clark's voyage so astounding? It wasn't limited to her WNBA season. It was the abrupt change from her renown last year, straight into professional league at Iowa. She didn't have time to regain her breath. She was surrounded on campus 1 minute. The following, she was at the draft, shaking hands with Indiana Fever employees in March of that year. The NBA as a whole hummed in. Indiana, she was the subject of the actual discussion. Caitlin Clark will be arriving. The media wasn't the only source of enthusiasm. It was a prophecy. Her presence was felt right away as she joined the WNBA. Defenders doubled her from the start. She was already up against some of the hardest veterans in the league in just her fourth game. Her flexibility, however, was remarkable. She was matching the athleticism and pace, not just adapting to it. There were instances of hesitation, excessive dribbling, and insufficient mobility in the early games. However, that suddenly changed. All of a sudden, she was playing more quickly, getting clean shots off the move, and flowing with her teammates. More intelligent out on one of her more productive nights. Turnovers decreased. She had excellent timing, and the Fever started to appear more like a group rather than merely an ongoing project. People took notice. Broadcasters began to devote entire montages to her. ESPN featured a highlight reel of her entire year during a nationally televised game. From professional achievements to college records, the time she passed Pistol Pete Maravich was one of them, formally becoming the all-time top scorer in both men's and women's basketball in the NCAA. That montage made a statement in addition to being a celebration. Despite its simplicity, her Instagram post felt like a snapshot of her feelings. She stated, "As I think back on the past year of my life, I'm filled with gratitude. I'll see you all in year 2. In those brief words, following Indiana's playoff elimination, fans have been waiting impatiently for her confirmation. She had no intention of leaving. Her adventure was only getting started. However, what made the season noteworthy? Not just the passes, not just the scores, not even the 62 record she broke. It was the energy, the passion, and the feeling in her voice as she described it as a dream come true during her first formal press conference. The audience, the cameras, and Tamika Catching's legacy. It was all visible from the first row, and Caitlin Clark remained unflinching. She expressed gratitude to her parents, mocked her younger brother for missing his travel on the night of her draft, and talked about how Indiana just. It was like home. She brought up the Pacers, the supporters, and the entire organization, pointing out how the proper manner, that blend of confidence and humility, everyone was drawn in by that. When questioned about whether she had ever, she acknowledged that she always had her sights set on professionals and thought about continuing in college. However, Indiana's proximity to Iowa, and it seemed natural, almost like fate, to get the top pick. And when the night of the draft finally came, she knew it was the appropriate move. Her narrative goes beyond statistics and awards. It concerns a player who accepted pressure, carried a new generation's expectations, and changed the definition of what it means to be a rookie in women's sports. This season, Caitlin Clark did more than just play basketball. She redefined its potential. Let's now look at the figure she posted that left analysts and statisticians desperately searching for the most accurate method to express. Could a single number have such significance? When Caitlin Clark slipped, the rookie ignited the league. With the Indiana Fever Scarlet and Navy, the WNBA received more than just a new player. It gained a storm with a grin. She scored 19 points every night, but that was just a story. With an average of 8 assists, she became the exceptional rookie who could direct traffic while still breaking the record with 6 rebounds and a steal. She rewrote the season record with 337 passes, demonstrating how a great point guard views baskets as gifts. Shared. One night, she transformed the hardwood as her personal chessboard by slicing open a defense for 19 helpers. Soon after, she scored 2 triple-doubles, marks no first-year player had ever had, announcing that her vision had expanded between baselines. However, the stats only tell half the story. The Fever, trapped in years of heartache, hummed with fresh vitality all of a sudden. Tickets disappeared. National broadcasts pushed jerseys off the shelves. Indiana into prime-time slots. Odds makers observed that BetMGM was the only company still offering odds for Rookie of the Year. As though acknowledging that the race was over, a startling 10,000 tag was hung next to Clark's name. The severe bombardment followed. Clark surpassed Ryan Howard's rookie record with her 86 triple. Fans started doing new math. With 9 regular season games left, Sabrina Ionescu's all-time record is 128. If the Fever persists, she should average slightly more than 4 threes per night. Bleeds into the playoffs, and history can repeat itself. Her calm hand led the team to 20 victories. It is the first .500 finish since 2015 and earned a postseason trip for the first time in 8 arduous seasons. Among devoted supporters, hope blossomed, who had forgotten what it was like to win. Studio panels continued to chatter. What about Angel Reese? The forward from Chicago was breathing in rebounds at a rate that defied NBA and WNBA comparisons. However, when a complete image emerged, Clark's canvas appeared bigger, brighter, and more difficult to ignore with his points, passes, leadership, and attraction. Her second triple-double, the Los Angeles Sparks were defeated October 24th, 10, demonstrating WHY at BY halftime. Indiana had made 11 mistakes. However, Clark's composure prevented panic from entering the huddle. In the final moments, they changed course and made more reveals than they. Devoted and defeating a club in dire need of support. The victory was sealed by quiet poise rather than spectacular heroics. A series of astute choices that transformed pandemonium into peace. The heated backcourt is currently the hottest ticket, according to commentators, since the Olympic vacation. Veterans once cautioned that more slow-brewed Cuban coffee would require longer to steep, compared to quick powder. After lengthy film sessions and lengthy road journeys, that flavor finally emerges, robust, carrying a late kick and being smooth. Every clash exposes something fresh. Occasionally, Clark's no-look, threading a double team with a laser on other occasions. She is prepared to attract defenders by hovering in midair before zipping the ball to a corner. Shooter, defenses are stretched, not knowing whether to block the lane, chase her off the arc, or wait for the whistle. Every incorrect estimate creates a new highlight. There's an increase in attendance. Orders for merchandise crash the team. Store. In real time, social media networks blow up. Even casual sports fans who were previously unfamiliar with WNBA plots now analyze pick-and-roll angles over morning coffee, demonstrating how Clark's influence extends well beyond Gamebridge, Indiana State lines, and Fieldhouse. For the first time in a long time, watching Indiana is not just pertinent but also necessary. Basketball appointment on